Welcome, everybody, to Exit Stage Left. I am Niti Bali, and we are broadcasting live here from the Food Church on North Carolina. We are people at peace, and we have declared peace to all nations around the world. This is not a marketing or a promotional channel. We're shining a light on knowledge that is being hidden from you, and we are sharing the truth about your birthright and your inheritance. So if you've got questions, please put them in all caps and only enter them once per show. Today, I am joined on air with Tammy Healy, the host of the American State Assemblies podcast and co-leader of the Outreach Think Tank. Welcome, Tammy.
Hey, Niti. Thank you so much for having me again. It's always fun to come on here on Tuesday afternoons and, chit chat with you and kind of discuss topics that are off the beaten path, that we're creating here. But, nonetheless, we think that they're great topics to, help people, when they're exiting the matrix and also to help our assemblies, when there's a lot of chaos going on around us. And I know that today we're going to be continuing the conversation that we had going from last week. But anyway, how is your week going, Niti?
It's actually better now because the spraying has subsided for 2 days and they're giving us blue skies. And so it's been a relief because we had fake metal all the way down to the ground. There were, of course, these man-made tornadoes coming through here. And we fortunately have survived all of that because we went outside and told it to be still. We made our decrees and we're controlling all of that as well.
Overpowered it.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? No, we're not doing that. We're
Yeah, we want our blue skies, untainted. Yeah, we've got clouds here, but we do have blue skies, which is a big difference for us because it has been nothing but dismal gray. We've had fog and all sorts of crazy stuff. So
yeah.
I hear
so
you.
It feels a lot lighter. Otherwise, that metal, I feel like I can feel it on my shoulders.
Yeah.
So it's definitely
and in your head, right? Like it's going up your nostrils and it's kind of just infecting all of it.
Yeah. It's like all over. Yeah. It's all that electrical weight. But anyway, we have been able to push through like we do with the buffalo. We're the buffalo, right? We're just pushing through.
The bison, we're just, going on through, right through the storm.
Yeah. So I back this up just a little bit so that we can get caught up with what we were doing and start from a good place. So let's just dive right in, you guys, because I know, Tammy, you have a hard stop. I mean, I actually do too. We have kind of a hard stop today, but we want to make sure we get through this video. It's so good.
And before, we start the video, just to kind of give people a background, some context to who this Chase guy is. He served in the Army for 20 years. He's a retired veteran now. And his specialty was, psychology of, strategy and knowing people's minds and how their minds operate. So for me, he's a great resource to know and understand how they're using these social engineering and psyops to really create all this chaos that we see in the world today and how basically we're being socially engineered. So, and he has a YouTube channel. I think it's NCI, but you could look him up if you just search him as Chase Hughes. And he also has a video on there about his life story. So along with all other, great informational videos. So that's it.
I'll show you the link for this video here and also on my Telegram channel. And it is his channel. So you'll be able to, watch some of his other things. And yeah, I mean, this military strength, psychological warfare is not a lie. I mean, it is the truth. So
yeah.
All right. Are we ready?
Yeah, let's go for it.
We'll dive right on in. Oh, let me see. Get this set up for us. Is that better?
Yeah, I could see it. It's bigger now.
Great. All right, here we go, guys.
Becomes super easy. And that all comes down to one huge manipulation tool. This is layer number 5, narrative warfare. So modern news is not here to report on reality. It's designed to completely and totally construct narrative frames. It decides who's a victim, who's a villain, who's righteous, and what questions are allowed. The facts are completely optional. So here's the mechanism. An event happens, immediately the story arrives fully formed, and you're told how to feel, who to blame, what it means, and which side you're on. And all this happens before you have time to think. Facts don't radicalize people. Narratives do that, because narratives come with heroes and enemies and moral certainty and urgency and full-blown permission to hate people. One detail gets amplified, another gets buried, context gets removed until complexity completely disappears. Nuance is always the first casualty here, because nuance slows reaction time, and reaction is the product. This is how deliberate demonization works. You don't argue with the other side, you just dehumanize them. They're not human. This is where the left versus right illusion becomes very useful to them. It's audience segmentation. It's 2 simplified tribes, 2 emotional markets, 2 predictable reaction sets. Because while people are fighting each other, nothing upstream is ever examined. This is why wins are celebrated by all these politicians. Even when nothing changes, they're celebrating wins all the time. All these headlines and viral clips give us this placebo of things taking place, things are happening. And once people are emotionally invested in these narratives, they will defend those narratives even when the narratives hurt them, because abandoning the story means abandoning the identity. Once narratives are doing the work, politics don't need to govern anymore. The only thing that politics has to do is perform, which brings us to layer number 6.
Oh, this one is so good. You are muted, Niti.
This one is so good. I am observing this all the time. This is one of the biggest issues that's going on. I mean, it's definitely happening on our state. And they, you ask somebody what they're upset about, they don't know. They
Right.
can't tell you. And that's the big deal. They definitely have been made to hate and demonize people, and they don't know why. They
Right.
can't tell you why. If you were to say to them, why do you hate them? What is wrong? What did they do? What is going on? They have no idea. Or it's something like, oh, well, they're just a liar. Okay, well, what was the lie? No
Yeah.
one knows.
Right. Right. And I think that this is the reason why having some processes and, policies, if you would, I don't know what the better word is to describe it, in place on your assembly. I know for us, we recently had somebody that, just kind of lost it on social media and just started putting all sorts of crazy accusations out there. And, we voted in our assembly to, number one, remove them off of the social media because they violated decorum. We have a decorum in place. And part of that decorum is that you are to treat each other respectfully and kindly, that we don't verbally attack people. And especially whether it be in a meeting, whether it be in an email, a text message, or social media. It's all levels of, communication. And we also have a process in place that if you are suspecting that somebody is doing something wrong or out of dishonor, there's again a process to follow. We have a report you fill out. You have to provide witnesses. You have to provide your testimony. You have to provide evidence to back up your accusations. And you have to present it to the right people. And it goes in front of the right people. And, there's an investigation that takes place. And so, there's a process to handle these kinds of matters. And if our assemblies don't have a process in place, it really is leaving us open to be victims of these kinds of behaviors, whether they're, you know, not malicious intent, and they're just, maybe they believe for whatever reason, kind of like what you were describing, is that somebody hears something about you, and instead of asking and going to the source and talking to the man or woman and doing their own investigation, they just take the other person's, you know, word for it. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, there's like a smear campaign going on about one man or woman without any evidence to back it up. And so, you know, when those things happen, it's either they are victims of being easily manipulated, and two, or they're infiltrators. You know, I mean, we were taught, and there was a lot of discussion on our assemblies of the signs of what an infiltrator does. One of them, by the way, is when somebody accuses you of what they themselves are doing. And we've seen this plenty of times on our assembly. But again, you have to ask the appropriate questions. You have to provide evidence of whatever it is that you're accusing somebody of. Otherwise, it's just hearsay and it's nonsense. And this is where I feel like people need to wake up from these kinds of manipulative tactics.
Right. Well, and the other part is, you know, they might be accusing you of what they're doing, or they're constantly blaming the Federation. Anybody who's blaming the Federation is clearly a problem maker. Anybody who's calling the Federation, writing the Federation over and over, and expecting mom to fix something, you know, those are the people. Those are the ones that are creating the issues. It's not the ones that aren't, because everybody else is just like, okay, we're grown-ups. We don't do that. And
at the end of the day, you can't control somebody's behavior. All you can do is have a process in place that can gently remove somebody if they're causing a disruption, right? Like there's a warning, and you give them the benefit of the doubt, like, hey, you know, the other person didn't yield the floor, so they weren't done talking. Can you please wait to, you know, input your comment? And if they continue to go, well, that's a disruption, right? Like, we're called to be adults here. And I agree with you 100%. Like, you can't go to Anna every time. And this is the part where, you know, when you witness, and we went through this also on our assembly, and there was a lot of growing that took place from that experience. We grew a lot because it gave us the opportunity to identify when something is true and when something is not true. How do we identify when somebody is creating chaos, right? Like a true chaos, because it's not when somebody waits for an appropriate moment in a meeting and says, may I? And the moderator, whoever it may be, if it's a volunteer moderator, or if it's the coordinator, the chairman, or, you know, the martial arts, whoever is moderating your meeting, when they unmute, when they say, yes, you have the floor, and you ask a legitimate question about a process, whatever that may be. Hey, is it a correct process for the coordinator to be creating all of the documents without the assembly approving them? And if that coordinator is shutting down that conversation, that right there should not happen. And it's not up to that one man and woman that asked to take the floor. It's the responsibility of the entire assembly. The entire assembly should be, you know, hey, Joe, you know, as the coordinator, you know, you're just here to help facilitate this. We have to actually vote for these documents to be approved and for us to use them. And it's the assembly's responsibility. I can't tell you, Niti, I'm sure you experience this too, how many times our assembly members are sitting there and just watching a show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, most of the people don't know what's going on because they're either new or, you know, or they're just like, okay, whenever these people decide that they want to grow up, then we'll actually do something or what have you. But then when you have folks who are running the whole control of the meeting and they are not interested in it going anywhere, it's not going to go anywhere. It doesn't matter what policies you have in place. It doesn't matter. The funniest thing is that there's a group, that has created documents that there's like probably 36 or 40 or 100, rules. and it's unbelievable because number one, all that means is, okay, you're still trying to control people.
Right.
Because the only law is do no harm. And the problem is that if you don't know what that even means, then you're anyway not going anywhere. And so it's unfortunate, but and also the other part of this is, let's be honest. If you, like he just said, they're going to create wins. And they're going to put up this whole theatrical performance together to make it seem like you're doing something.
Right.
But if you don't actually know what tangible success looks like, then that's a whole nother problem. And 99.999% of the population has no idea what that looks like. And so they are, it's fun to watch them because they literally do nothing and they're so excited about it. And they're not really going to ever do anything because they're terrified to actually do the real thing. And this is something that is definitely on
it's a challenge for us. It's definitely a challenge. Yeah, in this day and age, we can't expect, and to be in all fairness, like if we're looking at the state of the world right now, we've been living in a nanny state for how long? As long as I'm alive. And
at least the last 150 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they did it on purpose. Yeah.
And so, but we're expecting men and women who are adults, right?
You mean men of age, and they're of age.
But we're expecting them to go from a nanny state to now full on adulthood. And even though that sounds ridiculous, because I think we all like to believe that we are adults here and we're living an adult life, we've got adult responsibilities. But at the end of the day, when you actually look at how people view themselves, like we were reviewing this last night on one of our committee meetings, is that getting feedback on an event we had, and they're like, you could have done this, you could have done that. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. We could have done this, we could have done that. And so getting them out of that mindset that it's somebody else that's doing it. How can I take responsibility for this? How can I improve this? How can I contribute here to help us to move forward? And it's really that I see that this is a challenge for a lot of people. And so it's not a surprise, because we have been conditioned to sit down, shut up, and do what we're told.
Right. And so responsibility. Everybody wants the privilege. Everybody wants the honor. Freedom. Everybody wants to be the boss. Okay. Because they've been the slave. Okay. So they want to not be the slave anymore. But what they don't realize is that when you are the one running the operation, when you're the one who is in charge, that's a responsibility.
Yeah.
That means you actually have to do more.
Right.
It's like, how many of us, and you're saying that they're adults. Well, I'll disagree with that a little bit, because we're not adulterating. This is the de facto word, adult. Like, we're people of age. And so when you become age of majority, you should be able and capable of taking responsibility. And if you're taking responsibility, then you can say, hey, we didn't know this. We can do that better next time because we learned this, that happened. And let's be prepared for that. because now when you're in your meeting after your event and you're like, oh man, did you notice that we weren't ready for this? Or, oh, we weren't ready for that, but oh, we can do this next time. But no one's in the habit of talking that way because everybody's used to being spoken to from their masters. You didn't do this and you didn't do that. Well, there's nobody they can really say that to here.
Yeah. Well, how come you didn't do that? Well, you didn't tell me to.
Also, why am I listening to you? Because aren't we all in charge? Like, okay, well, if we're all in charge, then, okay, you noticed it. Thanks. Fill that gap, brother.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. Yeah. I mean, but let's all remember what this responsibility looks like and feels like. And it also means that we can just say, oh man, I'm sorry I let everybody down. I know I was supposed to take care of whatever. And I didn't realize that this might happen too. Oh my gosh,
Right. And recognizing that you forgot something and
or you haven't experienced that before. Like you get there and you're like, I didn't know that was going to be something that we would also have to ever plan for. Wow. It was so many people. We didn't expect that would happen. We weren't ready, oh, but great. We'll be ready next time, and
it kind of reminds me of back in the day when I was training my kids to bathe themselves, right? Because for so long we gave them baths and bathed them for them, and they played in the bathtub with their toys. And then it was like, as they got older, it's like, all right, now you got to start doing this yourself. And we're not taking baths anymore; we're taking showers, right?
Right.
And so I can remember my boys, especially, would go in and they'd be in there for like 2 seconds and they'd be out. And I'm like, there is no way you washed your hair, you soaped down your body,
Yeah.
And I'm like
what did you just do?
You better go back in there and wash something. Like you need to use soap, and so it was a learning curve, right? So, but do I have to tell them now when they're, of the age of majority, like what to do when they shower? No, they know what to do, because if they don't use soap, they're not going to get off the dirt. So, these are all learning lessons and growing pains as we're going in, because we've never done this before. Who had to actually run a government before? None of us.
Well, most people don't have any experience running their own enterprise. And they definitely don't. I mean, this is like Anna says, it's a family business. And so when you're working in a family business, it's not corporate. It's not something that is cookie cutter. It is not something that is repeatable, because nature is not repeatable. Living men are not really repeatable in that way. It's something that you have to be prepared for, but staying in honor. But there's this confusion about what is honor. There's some people who think honor is something that they learned while they were in the military. And I can guarantee you that is not what this is, and what they think is honor in the military is like a ranking. And that's not what this is at all.
I think it's very simple, right, Niti? I mean, we go back to that do no harm, but let's even elaborate a little bit, right? Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness.
The bearing false witness part, let's just stick right there. No one knows how to do that. And the other part is there's still two, they want what they want, but they don't want to talk to the person who they think is standing in their way, because they're still kids.
That is a red flag.
And that's what they do.
Anybody who's watching this podcast today, if you get anything out of this, it's a red flag. If somebody has a problem with somebody and they're coming to you to talk about it, not to get advice, like, hey, something happened with, something happened between Niti and I, and I really need some advice on how to handle this. Here's what happened. How do you think I should handle it? Right. But instead, the conversation is like, hey, you know what that bitch did to me the other day?
Exactly. Or I just, like they say, just demonizing somebody. Right. Yeah. And so that's what they said. And so they want to villainize somebody. And if someone's the best is when people have things to say about people they don't even know.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
99% of these people have never met them in their life, do not know them, not actually. They've never stood in front of them, and they've never had a conversation directly with them
So,
to make any of these decisions about them.
so, do you think that it's things like this are happening because perhaps people are trying to connect with each other and they don't know what else to talk about? Like it's been so ingrained in us
Hmm.
to gossip about other people that they have nothing better to talk about. Like I'm trying to wrap my head around like, why does this happen? Because it's happened to me a few times,
Well,
talk,
he explained it, right? Okay, look, he
yeah,
literally just said that they make it common, and then now this person can't let it go because that would mean that they were wrong about something, and they've been on that fight, in that fight, for that fight, or whatever it
right.
is,
It all
for
goes back
so
to the
long.
beliefs.
And
Yeah,
so that's why, I've always said, we're not fighting. I'm not fighting.
right.
I'm not fighting the de facto because, first of all, we want to work with them. I'm
Yeah,
looking on how to build a relationship with the de facto. Okay. So I don't hate them. I'm not fighting them. You might be fighting them, somebody out there, but I'm not. I am trying to educate them about the truth about what is happening because it will actually benefit them too. And
right,
I want them to be benefited. I'm not trying to crush somebody or quash somebody
right.
or hate somebody or whatever. I mean, we have to be one for all and all for one, but these people can't do that
Yeah,
because all they want is to be the boss because they're done not being the boss. And what I think is they have been told what to do and they've liked being told what to do, and they only allowed themselves to be told what to do their whole life. And now they think, I shouldn't have done that. I don't want to do that. But they don't know how to take responsibility because they've never created anything in their life. They've only ever been at a job, told what to do, been given a handbook. And so now they're looking for the handbook. And they want to reference the handbook and they want everybody else to go by the handbook. And they don't know what to do with somebody who doesn't read the handbook. But when you're in a family business, then your job is to just take care of the problem, take care in service, take care of whoever whoever it is that you're in service to. And that's it. And you do it at any cost. You know,
yeah.
that's all.
And if you think about it, Niti, this was how our government was actually structured from the get-go. They didn't have any
Mm,
kind of a blueprint to go by. They didn't have a handbook.
mm-mm,
They knew
mm-mm,
that they wanted to be self-governing people. And
mm-hmm.
then, they assembled all the counties, which created the state. Then they had the state assemblies, the Federation of States. And then, what was it? 5 years later, they created the Confederation. They're like, oh, I think that this would probably be a good organization to help us, do international trade and, all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, stemmed, oh, well, now we've got, the British
Foreign
territorial,
subcontractors.
yeah,
Yeah.
the foreign subcontractors that are good at, hey, the British is good at, they've got the best Navy. How about we use them to train up our army and Navy men and help us with our military services. And the Pope has done such a great job with postal services, like
Yeah.
naming postal roads and organizing all of that and getting our mail to us. Like, let's hire them to do that. And
Right.
and so it wasn't like bam, right in 1776, that's when the government was started, and it was, the blueprint was already there and they just kind of kept, went with it. No, they had
Mm-hmm.
to create it over a course of years. And
Right.
it was based on what were the needs,
Right.
and who had the skills to provide those needs, the
And it
service.
was alive. I mean, the reason that it's not like in a handbook is because it's a living thing because we're living people and there's things going on all the time. Like in a real family business, you're evolving and changing with the times. Well, fast forward 150 years, the times are freaking different, man. They're not the same. And so what was applicable at that time isn't applicable now. And it's not the same common law as a side effect. And so, But meanwhile, what we have is a bunch of man babies, because we have a population of people who have never been taught how to cook. They don't know how to make breakfast. They don't know how to make lunch. They don't know how to make dinner. They only know how to open a box. They know how to use a microwave. Most people have not really ever eaten real food. And I mean, that's just one aspect of it. That is just a tip of the iceberg, like the very tippity tip. Yeah. And I mean,
and I think that's one of the reasons why Anna says, you got to clean up, get your personal orders, your personal affairs in order first.
Right.
Because you can't govern a body politic if you can't govern your own life in your own home.
Right. So, and most people can't. They don't actually know. They can't get along with their babies because they've been trained not to be with them. They've put them somewhere where somebody else ran them and controlled them in the way that they wanted to. If other people raise your babies, then you don't really like them. Okay, let's just be honest. If you raise them yourself, then you're going to make them some people that you want to hang around with. Okay. And so that's a big issue just in and of itself. And then they have a mind of their own. Next thing you know, it's just the two of you. If that even happens, if you can even get along with each other, most people can't even just be alone.
Right.
Can't even get along with their own self. So there's a lot going on,
Yeah. And people have been, I think, conditioned to keep themselves busy so that they don't have to be alone with themselves. It's
well, they can't be quiet, Tammy, because then they would be able to think.
Right.
And that was part of the training, right? Yeah. All right. We want to go back to this now?
Yeah. Let's see what else Chase has to say.
I know. That was a lot. That was a lot.
This is the theater of power. Modern politics is not a system for solving problems, and I think you would agree. It is a stage with roles and costumes and very predictable conflict arcs. Visibility, alignment, signaling, performative outrage, and symbolic gestures. This is why hearings that we see on TV all the time, they look dramatic, they accomplish jack shit. This is why speeches feel emotional and change nothing. This is why scandals cycle endlessly through the news with no consequence. Seriously, where are all the Epstein criminals going to jail? If politics were about results, it wouldn't need an audience. This is why the same behaviors repeat. That's why corruption has become background noise in politics. That's why people say nothing surprises me anymore. That numbness, some people think it's apathy. It's not. It's conditioning. Right and wrong are replaced with team loyalty. So people aren't asking, is this right? They're asking, is this our side? This is where left versus right becomes useful again. Two sides, two very predictable emotional responses, endless conflict with no resolution. While all these people are arguing over symbols, the actual sources of instability remain completely untouched. Politics is a distraction machine. It's a constant stream of drama that absorbs attention and releases nothing of value. So let me say this super plainly in a way that maybe will make perfect sense. Most political content exists to keep you emotionally occupied, not materially informed. The goal is not progress. You know what the goal is? Engagement. Once politics is theater, events themselves become props. Most people think manipulation means lying. It does not. The most effective manipulation leaves the facts intact and controls how those facts are experienced. An event happens, and before anybody can orient to it, what shows up? The frame arrives immediately. So they tell you what the event means, why it matters, who the enemy is, what emotion you're supposed to feel, and which conclusions you are supposed to adopt. This is before you've even touched the real event itself.
Oh my God, this is too much. First of all, there's too much stuff there, but like, I mean, I'm just making notes and there's so much to talk about because like the endless loop, the Groundhog's Day that they have
Yeah,
created. And that
correct.
is exactly what it is. It's a
Yes.
Groundhog's Day. And it's why are our courts not up in 5 years? Because it doesn't take 5 years. Okay. We could do it in 2 minutes. The reason that we can't do it is because of the Groundhog's Day, because of the controlled experience based on the instruction on how to think, which keeps you emotionally occupied, which is because they're all locked up in this whole, nonsense of,
Yeah. Me
oh,
versus
but
them,
oh,
us
but
versus
poor
them.
blah blah blah. Oh, but blah da da da, and they're constantly whining and crying about. But you don't care about how we feel. No, we don't. We're looking at action, and you aren't doing anything except backpedaling all the time. If all you want to do is sit in a corner and cry about how everything's not fair for everybody, well, bye. We don't have the energy for that. But that is exactly what they do. And so the conflict has no resolution, which is a distraction, which is a political thing. This is why we're saying exit stage
Right.
left,
Right.
exit, exit the theater.
Yeah.
And, but you can't do that because you hate us too much. You just so busy hating so much that you can't exit the theater. What is going
Right.
on? So
Right.
that's the cage, right? So they now have you properly locked in the cage in your fake world with your fake progress, and it's never going to change anything. And you are set up to be directly usurped within 1 second because
Yeah.
you're just there waiting to be usurped again.
Yeah. And I think about for me, when I exited stage left, it as soon as it was like the light switch went on
Hmm.
and it was like, oh, okay, now I see it. When I remember listening to an interview with Aaron Russo.
Hmm.
And he said the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are just two different wings of the same bird. Voting for one is not a vote for a less, voting for the lesser of the two evils is not a
Hmm.
vote, it's a wasted vote. That was kind of like his quote out of context. But
Right.
I remember saying, oh, yeah, I see this now. Like they got these two parties. That's why there's only two. I know that there's, maybe the Green Party or the Independent Party, whatever, but they've mainly focused on these two parties and they're constantly at each other's throats, right?
Right.
And it's
Well, at
like,
least you think so because they tell you that.
well, yes.
But when you start talking to the people, it's kind of a different story.
Oh,
And
yes.
and
But
and so
they accept the label.
right,
They
because they got
accept
to be politically correct and also
right,
then
and
and,
you have to be a part of the group, right?
well, it's the
You
group
don't wanna be
think.
ostracized or,
Mhm.
demonized or left out, and this is what they do, even when,
Mhm.
when you're meeting people, right?
Right, right.
Like they've trained us to judge each other based on what your political party was, right? Oh, because
Mhm.
now I can tell if you're conservative, then, you're for, working, you're the working class, working to earn a
Mhm.
living. And if you're a
And then
Democrat,
all
you're like
these
on
assumptions
welfare and,
all these
you're
assumptions and presumptions and this is nonsense, okay? So like they have you're like, hey, when I got pulled over and the officer was like, I already know how this is going to go. No, you don't.
right,
No, you
right,
don't. You don't
right.
know. You don't know what's about to happen here. And then, but okay, so that's the orthodoxy, right? And then in the unorthodox side, they have 10 million patriot groups. Well, oh, but we,
Yes.
so they're all like, okay, well, what about Anna? Like Anna, I love her latest article. I have to wake up every morning knowing
Yep.
I'm being hated, I'm being talked
Lied
about,
to.
I'm
Yep.
being ostracized, I'm being demonized, I'm being whatever. All the things that he just said. She knows it. So do we, right? We know it. Also, guess what? None of us care. Don't care. Still getting up, still doing all the things, still going out there. And one day, it's, what we're doing is actually the real work. what we're doing is the real work. It's the reason. What you think that whatever you can say about Anna, I mean, she is getting it done. Okay, who else is like that? You know, there are other people who are doing the same kind of thing. Vandana Sharma is one of the people. She's doing that with the whole seed saving and the whatever. There are plenty of us guardians out here working. We're doing the job. We're not seeking your agreement or your favor. Don't care.
Right.
I let Chad Morgan, I'm going to talk to him at 3:00 today. He doesn't care if you want to follow him or like him either.
Yes. Yeah. I love both him and his wife.
Yes,
They've got a
Jamie.
good group out there on Idaho.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry I stopped it for a second because of that, but let's just see what he's saying next.
Yep.
That was just like a lot. I was like, man.
Woo.
This is how current events are absolutely engineered. It is 100% not at the level of reality. It's at the level of interpretation. It's dumbed down because they think you are a moron, because complexity doesn't mobilize anybody. Simplicity does. And once framing is centralized, people will defend the interpretation like they witnessed the event themselves, because emotionally they did. This creates a dangerous illusion. People feel like participants when they're actually spectators. They feel informed when they've only been pointed in a direction. They feel certain when they've been guided. And whoever controls the stories controls the responses. So once events are framed, once politics is theater and identity is unstable, story becomes the final weapon. Humans don't understand the world through facts alone. They understand it through mythic structure. That wiring is ancient. It predates language, and it's incredibly easy to hijack. This is where the global hero's journey comes in. Every major narrative that you're fed now follows the exact same template.
Hey, I just want to say, you asked the question earlier, Tammy. How is it possible that they aren't getting it or whatever? He just said it. People cannot understand facts.
Right.
Because the events have been framed. That's it right there.
Yeah. I can remember when I was, and I say this all the time, when I was introduced to this information and somebody handed me Anna's book, You Know Something Is Wrong When, and I looked at it and I think I read the first chapter and I was like, I think I was angry, right? I'm like, well, who the hell is this old lady and why should I trust her? Because I felt like, wow, like this is, if they could pull this off, this is something. And and I was like, you know, I'm not going to read any more of her material. I need to go find my own stuff. And I started researching my own stuff and finding other people's work. And I was shocked at the amount of information, you know, some of the authors out there, you know, Melvin Stamper, I think David Robinson and Edward E. Griffin, you know, all these people that wrote, you know, different information out there, different books to get this information out. And then after I read a few of these things, I thought, oh, let me go back to what she's saying now. And I read the book and then I just started I took, you know, that big world where all the puzzle pieces with all the names, I took all those names and researched them because I wanted to know who the heck they were and why she was making it a point to put their names in that puzzle piece. And I couldn't believe Bruce Ray Riggs and Mary Croft and, you know, Aaron Russo. And I was like, wow, like this is crazy. And so, but you're right. People have been conditioned, and I have witnessed this myself. You could provide the information and say, "Hey, go look this up," and instead of looking it up, what they want to do is start attacking you. That's crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. You know what? You don't love this country. If you don't love this country, go somewhere else.
or they'll do that, or they're looking for one of us to follow and then blame that guy for whenever they can't make heads or tails of it or something. Right. And that's the bigger problem. It's like, okay, they don't, like, you just verbatim quoted a bunch of things that she said that you learned from that because you wanted to know what are you doing. I did the same thing, Tammy. I don't just follow Anna. I mean, I dissect it. If I don't know what she's saying and I can't exercise it or practice it or know it to be true, I'm not doing this.
Right.
You know, and anybody else who does is crazy. Like, I don't get it, you know? And so that's why they're mixing things up all the time, because you see people in this space that are they're still talking about trust. Why? They're still talking about UCC. Okay. You know, like you don't need to do it that way, you know, and you need to comprehend jurisdiction and how and when you're going to apply that. And sure, there are ways for you to manage things in some of those ways, but us individually don't need a trust. Does the government need the trust? Yes. The government who's making decisions for and, you know, to protect the people and their assets, and they're doing it en masse, that's where you need the trust. You don't need it for your house, your
your property,
because we have our voice, which is more powerful than all of that, but they don't understand who they are. They don't know who they are. They don't think they can protect their stuff because they don't know who they are. They're not also educating their progeny to know who they are. My progeny can fully defend anything I can.
Yeah, because you need to teach children how to be critical self-thinkers, right? You can't tell them what to think, but, you know, teach them how to find out what is true, right?
How to stand on their flat feet and use their voice and object, or, you know, and know how to use their yes and know how to use their no.
Yeah.
Because it is about just the yes and the no.
And I don't, you know, I don't want to say that I would disapprove of somebody that's looking for personal remedy, right? Because let's be honest, our banks aren't open yet, and there are a lot of people who are suffering and they need remedy. And so if these people are trying to find remedy for themselves, that's all fine and good, but don't let that stop you from getting involved in your assembly and getting your government up and standing, because we don't have time for these distractions. We need to get this government up, because at the end of the day, when our government is fully seated and functioning, there will be things that we won't have to deal with anymore. Well,
but your court of record can do that now. And the whole problem is they don't know how to do the remedy that way. Anna has given us everything to be able to have the remedy now. And there is a way to use that for the remedy now. And she fully instructs you how to do it properly if you pay attention, and it works. But you have to know how to do that.
Yeah,
and your assembly,
I'm talking more about, like, you know, like people with their mortgages.
Right. That remedy, I'm trying to say, she's giving us the ways to manage the remedy even right now. And there are ways to do that. And if our county is ready to put a court up, we can do it bigger, better, faster right now than not doing that. And this is the other issue, right? But people don't know that. It's okay. Like, I'm not sure how they're going to find it out, but if they cannot understand facts because they're following the events that have been framed, and we have people within the assemblies who are framing it, and they are following that, which we're watching it, then they're deadlocked. And that's exactly where they're stuck. And all we can do here is put it out there and allow the universe to do its magic and bring people. But, like, you know, like you can lead a horse to water, right, Tammy?
That's exactly right. I mean, the information is out there. It's there for you to read. I mean, for Christ's sake, that you've got people on YouTube that have, voice recorded their themselves reading Anna's book. So you can just listen to it if you don't like to read. You know, I mean, there's so many things like tools at our fingertips to learn. I mean,
Yeah.
gosh, there's so much today than we ever had growing up that you could learn just about anything you want to learn. And then also have the discernment, like put all the pieces together, lay it all out there. That's what I did. You know, when I was trying to figure out if I could trust what Anna was teaching, I went out and looked for my own resources without her, you know, recommending anything. I found them myself. I corroborated everything and looked at it all and said, hey, I think I need to go back to what she was saying and read now what she has to say and see, you know, how I can wrap my head around this. And then also learn a little bit about, you know, like you were just saying this before. If you have somebody that is accusing you of something and you don't have a conversation with them and you don't know them and you don't, you know, have any frame of reference of who they are, how can you possibly believe what these rumors are saying over here without having firsthand knowledge and experience with that man or woman? You know, it really
it's crazy. You know what it is they're used to that, Tammy, because of Hollywood. They're used to it because they can't reach out to Deion Sanders or Emmett Smith or, you know,
or there's
Sandra Bullock or whoever these people are.
There's a trusting, getting back to like our assemblies, right?
Right.
You have somebody that's in a trusted position. And because they're in a trusted position, you then trust whatever it is they say, right? And if they're the ones that are doing the gossiping, well, hey, they've been guiding me in this way over here. Why would they lie to me about her? It must be true what they're saying about her. And so then you start see, and that this is the slippery slope and part of the manipulation that is taking place, because you have somebody almost like what you were saying is like, if you have like some Hollywood actress that is on TV trying to push a pharmaceutical drug and it has all these side effects, that's what they do, right? They use somebody that's like this superstar that's promoting this drug, but yet it has all these side effects over here. And you can't, people have to discern and say, I don't give a shit who Sandra Bullock is and how great of an actress she is. I ain't taking that drug. Listen to all the side effects it has. You know, likewise, I don't care who this person is in our organization. I don't care how much good she's doing for the organization. If she's talking smack about somebody else, I'm not going to entertain that. Like, unless I have firsthand knowledge, or I can have a one-to-one conversation with this person to back it up. And you have to have that discernment.
Right. I mean, just because Angelina Jolie is eating bugs and making it popular, I mean, come on, guys. You know, she's just like, you know, she thinks it's the greatest thing on earth right now. Excuse me?
Yes.
Oh, man.
And if somebody has to prop themselves up every time you're listening to something they're doing, right? If they're trying to sell you on themselves, like, oh, hey, I've done this and I've done this and I've done this and I've done that, you know, that's also a red flag. Why do they have to constantly tell you how great they are? You know, why?
I mean, how about just do the job? How about just get to work?
You don't need to toot your own horn, right? If you are so great, people are going to see that naturally. You don't have to tell people how great you are or how experienced you are in this, and you've done that, and you've done this. It's like, wow, all I hear is me, I, and I shut off.
I know. I'm like, okay, are we doing the meeting? Or are we moving on with this? Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah, let's finish this up.
All right, here we go.
Guarantee you. Hero becomes your side. The villain becomes the other side. The victim becomes the justification. Once those roles get assigned, logic is not required anymore, because archetypes bypass human reasoning. And once stories take over, morality becomes symbolic. It turns into symbols and slogans and flags and hashtags and profile frames on social media. Virtue's not something you do, it's something you deploy now. That's when morality starts to look like stickers, because stickers are visible. And what's the currency of this simulation that we are in right now? It's visibility. When morality becomes symbolic, it stops being moral. It's just a performance. This is why people are going to defend a story even when the story contradicts reality. Stories don't need to be true. They just need to make you feel like a good person. And there's only 4 things they need to give people: a role, a purpose, an enemy, and relief from uncertainty. And once you see this layer, everything below it snaps into focus. The media, the politics, the fear, the division, the identity weapon, they are not separate layers of manipulation. And story is the oldest control system that we have, a symbolic layer replacing reality, simulated people adapting to narratives and incentives. Nothing here requires conspiracy, just incentives. Seeing the simulation doesn't make you superior. It doesn't make you enlightened. It doesn't make you immune to everything. It gives you some orientation. You stop reacting on cue. You stop mistaking symbols for substance. And you don't need to convince anybody. You don't need to expose anything. You don't need to fight against the stage or rage against the machine. Once you see the machinery, the manipulation stops working the same way. The performance feels super obvious, and something weird happens. The world doesn't feel fake anymore. It feels like it's covered with a layer of something. And reality was always there, under the noise, under the fake symbols. This was unsettling. You may need to go back through it and take some notes. I spent a month writing this for you, and you can see the stage now. And maybe that's enough. This video will wake up enough people that we can shift back to reality a little bit.
That pretty much wraps it up.
Yes. Yeah.
That pretty much wrapped it up. But I mean, we are watching this in real time on multiple assemblies because it's absolutely true. And it's like you said, it's the oldest control system in the book.
Right. Right.
So they've been doing it on repeat over and over and over and over and over and over again. And people don't want to, because they just love to feel like the good person. And that's really where they get stuck. Right at that moment where it's like, they have thought it through and they are the good person and that's all that matters. And they are fitting in.
Yeah. I can remember, and I keep referring back to this, like 5 years ago when I was waking up to everything. COVID really woke me up, and it was like a fire hydrant of information coming at me. It was a bit overwhelming too at first. But once you can see, like what he just said, once you can see the matrix for what it is, you can identify when somebody is trying to push your buttons, when somebody's trying to manipulate you, or if you have got algorithms working, on your YouTube, your Facebook, whatever social media or any platform that you're using to purchase things, you can see like they're recommending you buy this because you looked at that, right? Or they're recommending you watch this video. And hey, if it wasn't for the algorithms, I don't know if I would have come across this Chase guy.
Right.
So they work sometimes for the good, but ultimately you are you are in control. So, you have to have self-control and know when you're being manipulated into, a direction, if you would, right?
Right. You have to control your thoughts, their things, and you get to change your mind. Anybody, like we've talked before a couple of episodes back, go back and look at it where we're just talking about knowing worth versus believing.
Yeah.
And of course, this is going to trigger a lot of people because there are a lot of religious people who are the believers. Well, we're not the believers. This is the great remembrance. You need to remember who you are. And in order to remember who you are, you must know who you are, not believe who you are. You must know it. And there's a difference. So check that episode out. With your permission, Tammy, I want to put this question up on the. So Tim is saying, can they get more info? You don't need a trust. Okay. The reason you don't need it, the only time that you need a trust is if you're dead or if you're disabled. And so a lot of people are like, okay, I need to put the trust together for when I'm dead. Well, you could just educate your progeny.
Yeah. And I think Anna talks about having a last will and testament.
Right.
And, so
And a Bible.
That's what we do is
Right.
we have a last will and testament, and she says to hand it out to all the parties involved. So everybody is,
Right.
Aware of what you're leaving them when you are gone, and if you have, younger progeny, you would want to have somebody in place to be their guardian if you were to pass before they're, of mature age. Right.
Right. And this guy, Richard, I think what he's talking about, because I don't know who this is because I don't know what that says, but living men and women only need a last will and testament. Trusts are for corporations.
Right.
And this guy, Richard, I don't believe is declared American or doesn't know anything about it. So that's a different situation.
Yeah. And we have been indoctrinated to believe that trusts are needed. Right. And so,
right.
These are things that you have to get out of your box, this box thinking, and get out of just go with the assumption that everything you were taught is mostly a lie. Not everything,
right.
but most everything. And so you have to go and do your own research. I think about this, Niti. I don't know about you.
Well, before you say that, because this is applicable to what you just said, what trusts are for corporations, meaning like if you're incorporated, then that is for you. We are the living land and soil men and women who are fully unincorporated, and we don't do trusts. If you do a trust, it is a reflection of the fact that you are operating in an incorporated fashion. If that is what you want to do, you have superior, concurrent, general jurisdiction, and you can do that if you want to, but it will not be honored the way that land law is, and land jurisdiction is way more powerful than air. So I want to leave that right there. And then I'm sorry I interrupted you. I do want to hear what you had to say, and I hope I didn't make you lose that thought.
Now that you said that, I forgot where I was going with that, but I'm
sorry. I'm just watching the chat go nuts, and I want people to realize.
Yeah, I think trusts are a hot topic.
Yeah, they're a very big deal. People can't get off of it. But if you don't know anything else, you need to know that a trust is incorporated. We're unincorporated. A trust is incorporated. We're unincorporated. Yeah. A trust is incorporated. We're not.
The state assemblies are a corporate body, but we're not incorporated. And there's a big difference with that.
Right. And so we can continue the living will, or the will, and the last will and testament, it is honored, and it can be enforced by progeny who know who they are. Our progeny are declared. So, and if they're not declared, they can't claim what we've offered. I know that. So like our land or anything that we have isn't going to go to any of the progeny if they're not declared. In my situation, they are. But if I had progeny who weren't, they wouldn't be getting it anyway. Because guess what? If you're not a declared American, you can't own land on America.
Right. That's why you're called a resident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of things that we didn't learn. Oh, what I was going to say is, when I was thinking about this, and how we've been duped and lied to, it dawned on me that, hey, I went to school and just blindly trusted that whatever they were teaching was correct. Right. And how many people have gone to school without the mentality that, hey, how do I know if this information that they're teaching me is actually true? Do I have anything else to back it up? And then when you learn about who took over all the publishing houses for for all of our curriculum books, and you start going down that rabbit hole, and you start realizing who is controlling that information.
And centralized education just anyway, right? Like,
right.
Yeah. I mean, it's all of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to say to whoever this is, Kat,
this is a farce.
No.
Wanting to be of service but need to have funds. Well, at the end of the day, if you don't mind me taking this,
yes.
At the end of the day, whether GFG comes online today, tomorrow, or yesterday, it doesn't change the fact that we have to self-govern. We have to get a government standing. It's been missing in action for over 160 years. We, the people, have to get going and have to get our government fully functional. And so whether we have the funds, whether we don't have the funds, right now is irrelevant. And, if you have financial issues, you got to figure your shit out. Figure it out. I mean,
this is one of those conversations again where, it's an arrested development problem, because people of age have to take responsibility. If you're taking responsibility, then you already know that there are energy exchanges available to you everywhere. I work with farmers and former military, and I mean, we're dealing with people who are suffering PTSD and 10 million other problems. But guess what? The people come together and we talk and we love each other and we carry each other and we support each other and we do energy trades for each other. And, it depends on if you're willing to do anything. But if you're that guy that wants to go and, put your head in the middle of a bosom of somebody and just be trying to milk them, well, bye. What we're doing takes courage, and you must be courageous, and you must be formidable, and you must be, responsible.
And I think, yes, we have a country that has financial difficulties, clearly, because we have been robbed and pillaged and everything else.
Right.
But we're in this transition, this very weird transition time where we've exited out of the matrix, and we are now creating something better. But there's this transition period of coming out and going into, right? And so during that transition period, you have to buckle down. If you are having financial troubles, figure it out. Get a smaller place, go door to door and offer some kind of service for, in exchange for something, right? Like, figure it out. If you've got family, friends that you can lean on, this is what Niti was talking about when she says, hey, we have a community here that we get together and we help each other out. I mean, that's really what we're supposed to be doing within our communities, is helping each other out, especially during tough times. So, we have to self-govern our own situations first and get that under control. And then you can then come into our assemblies and help us to create. But if you're sitting around waiting for the Global Family Bank to come online,
or anybody to rescue you, because let me just tell you what, you got to get off the X. We're on the X right now. Right. And so if you don't get up and get off the X, then you're done for. And that's nobody's responsibility to manage but yours, because it's your free will choice to do whatever you're going to do. Why are whoever this is, we're not leading anybody in that way. You should have your own free will choice. Where's your own thought processes? Where is your own discernment? Where is your responsibility? When do you get to be in charge of your own self? When are you going to take charge of yourself? Like, you want all this power, you want all this something, you want a solution, but you don't want to do anything? That's cute.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing they also said, what has the I'm saying, he says us, but I'm thinking maybe US stole from you, EU. I don't know what's translating. Maybe somebody's translating it for him. The US has stolen your identity, your land, your gold, pretty much all your assets, your son and daughters. Any
under color of law.
Yep.
And they're brigands, and we're talking about like serious identity theft.
Right.
Serious identity theft. But
Yep.
all of
And
you guys need to grow up and read, or like Tammy says, listen to, there are free YouTube recordings of every book that we're referencing.
Yeah, there's Audible too. So if some of these other books that you want to read that weren't written from Anna, you could read them on or listen to them on Audible. There's so much resources out there. I know that Fruit from a Poisonous Tree is on stopthecrime.net, free in a PDF. And I think there's other books on that website that you could download as a free PDF and read it for free. So people have been so generous with their time and their resources. And we have absolutely no excuse, really no excuse for why you don't know this. And that's what we're doing with these podcasts, is getting the information out. I know there's a lot of assemblies, including mine, that's going out and doing outreach, face-to-face outreach.
Yeah, we do it too. Yep.
Yeah. And so we're doing our part by trying to educate and inform the public. We can't force you to read. We can't force you to do the research. We can't force you, to get your own personal affairs in order. These are all things you have to do yourself.
Right. Okay. So in the show notes, there's a Linktree, and in the Linktree are several video channels, several books, several things for you to look up. It's all in the show notes. So go there and you'll find stuff that'll keep you busy for a lifetime. And it's got over 5,000, almost 6,000 articles at this point. I mean, good luck, because a lot of those articles are 100 pages, 45 pages. They're not like one page. Okay. She's got literal books that she's calling articles, but they're books. Okay.
Right.
But they're there, and they're all on her website, which is on the Linktree in the show notes. So please do go to the show notes. And as far as the public versus the private goes, Richard, what I wanted to say about this is that we are private because we're unincorporated.
Well, and there's somebody else that's saying it's not that US has stole from us, it's the fact that we are under British rule and still stealing from us. So the U.S. corporation is the US.
And it is British.
Yes.
And it is not us, it's the Tories.
Yes.
The Americans, the real Americans, are not the U.S. corporation.
Right.
All of them. There's many of those corporations.
Yes, way too many.
Yeah, wait till you find out how many. And they try to call themselves all kinds of U.S.A. corporation.
LLC, S Corp, I don't know, whatever. There's just so many. The United States government.
Right.
Yeah, just
crazy. The
crazy
FDA, the USDA, the NCDA, the CDC, all of the IRS.
Yeah, DMV.
They're all incorporated liars. So yeah. Anyway, all right, guys, we will see you next Tuesday. I'm actually going to be going live with Chad in about an hour. So I guess I better jump off, and we will see you guys very soon. It was a pleasure to see everybody. Thank you so much, Tammy, for hosting with me and going over this very important conversation. And we'll look for you guys real soon. Like I said, in an hour, I'll be back, and we'll be back again next Tuesday as well.
Awesome. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Take care, Niti.
You too.